Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell. You'll get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And when I'm not asking Bruce, hey, how big was Batista's? Well, you know. One of the things I like to do is help people save money. And if you're watching this video right now and you're in a 30-year loan, man, you're overpaying your single biggest bill and you may not even realize it. I want you to do a little experiment for me. Take your calculator out, multiply your monthly house payment by 360 payments. That's how many payments there are on a 30-year loan. That big scary number, that's your total of payments. You're looking at that number? You know you can do better. Keep more of your own money right now and go to savewithconrad.com. Or maybe you've got credit card debt. Man, it's not a matter of if I can save you money with that. Your average interest rate on a credit card is more than 20%. And by the way, all the interest you pay on those credit cards, it's not tax deductible. Whereas the mortgage interest, well, that is tax deductible. So if you owe this debt, it's up to you how to pay it back. Doesn't it make sense to get the cheapest rate possible and the greatest tax deduction possible? Find out how much money you can save right now for free at savewithconrad.com. You don't need perfect credit. Even scores in the 500s can be approved, and it's no cost out of pocket. But maybe best of all, we're licensed in more than 40 states. We can help more families than ever before. But how much can we save you? Find out right now for free with a quick quote from savewithconrad.com.
Hey, this is Kurt Angle, and welcome to the Kurt Angle Show. On the show today, the fans are able to ask Kurt anything. That's right, I'm going to answer all your questions. But first, let me introduce to you my co-host, Paul Bromwell. How you doing today, Paul?
Kurt, I'm doing really good. You and I were talking. I think these are my favorite episodes to do with you, and we haven't done one in a while. But
it's like going freestyle.
We're freestyling it, baby. And when we get to hear the voice of the fans, and they can ask you anything, and then depending on your answers, I might just throw some bombs in there too at you.
Okay.
Yeah. Look at your face. So I love this. But before we get going, I got to talk to you because I got to see you last Sunday at the Steeler game. And you were waving that towel down on the field. I saw you from afar. But what I noticed from afar, and by the way, I got to see Giovanna. I got to see your kids, which were awesome. We got some pictures together and just had a great time. And I think they should have you back for the rest of the season for the home games because you brought the Steelers a win, bro.
I'm the good luck charm.
You're the good luck charm.
Beat the Buccaneers. That's right. One of the best teams in the NFL. The Steelers did it. They're 2-4 so far.
Yeah, right. As we record this. But man, when you were waving the towel, they showed you on the big screen. You just weren't waving the towel, Kurt. You were jumping up and down on those surgically repaired knees.
Trying to jump. Little 3-inch hops.
But I was so pumped up for that because I'm like, hey, he must not be in that much of pain, or it must not be affecting him if he's jumping up and down like that.
Well, it was hurting a little bit. I'm not going to lie to you.
Man, I was though excited to see that you were getting into it like that. How are we haven't given the fans an update in a little while. How you feeling? You almost at 100% or what?
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting there. I have some good days and bad days, but for the most part, it's pretty good. My strength is I'm stronger now than I was before the surgery. So my legs made it back. My knees are still healing though.
And since I've been able to see you, I saw you Sunday, and I've seen you a few times on Top Guy Weekend here and there. You are already noticeably walking better than prior to the surgery.
I know. You know what? I'm actually taller. My knees were bent naturally from the damage in my knees. So I looked like an old man when I was walking because my legs were like bent forward.
Yep.
And it caused problems with my back because now the pressure was on my back. So once I got the knees down, my back is starting to feel better.
Yeah, it looks so much better. I'll never forget the first time we met a year ago, Top Guy Weekend. And I'll be honest, I noticed how you walked and I knew it was from what was going on with you. And then I wanted to keep my eye out for it, and buddy, it's night and day. I'm so happy for you.
The doctor did an incredible job. I'm so happy with the surgery.
All right. Well, that's good stuff. And I wanted to give our listeners, our audience update there. And so that's cool. So, hey, let's jump into it. It is Ask Kurt Anything. And I want to get as many questions in as we can. And you and I were talking about it. If we don't get to all of them, we may, by the end of the year, before the end of the year, try to do another Ask Kurt Anything, maybe as we get around the holiday season. So don't fret. Don't worry. If we don't get to your question, I promise you, we are going to get to your question before the year is out. So no worries there. Kurt, let's start with Francis Reyes. He says, any fun UK travel stories you can share when you were with WWE or TNA?
Well, you know what? The one that comes to mind was pretty brutal. My wife was pregnant. She was due in 2 weeks. So it was safe for me to travel over to the UK. And I took the travel, and it took me about 15 hours to get there. Right when I got there, I got a call from my wife's parents. Giovanna's in labor. I'm like, holy shit.
Oh,
so
my God.
I went to the airport. It was closed down. So now I had to go back to the hotel, rest for a couple of hours, which I didn't sleep because I was so excited about the baby. And I flew back another 15 hours just to get there to see my wife and my kids. And she already gave birth. So I missed the birth of my baby. But I was happy anyway. I was home with my kid. And actually, I didn't have to do the tour. So they let me off the whole entire week. So I got to spend time with my family.
I can't even believe Giovanna let you walk out the door with her being that close to delivering a child in the first place.
She
pal.
told me to go. She goes, it's not going to come.
Oh,
So
you're lucky.
Don't worry. You go ahead and do it. You'll come back next week and we'll have the baby together.
Well, I guess it makes sense. She's probably like, go earn that paycheck. Go ahead and make that payday. Yeah, there you go.
You're exactly right.
Oh, my goodness. Well, there you go. And which child was this?
Sophia, our second daughter in that marriage. Yes.
I got you. Okay, very good. So Sophia, daddy wasn't there, but he made it home and got to spend the first week with you. So
yes, I did.
All right. Next up, facts from wrestling, sports, game, and etc. He says, any funny Bray Wyatt or Fiend stories, and what are your thoughts on his big return at the end of Extreme Rules this year?
Well, I'll tell you this. I didn't know Bray that well. I mean, I knew him, to say hi to him and say, how you doing and everything like that, but I didn't really hang out with him. So I don't have any great stories about Bray Wyatt, but I'm really happy that he came back to Extreme Rules. He's going to be there in 2022. And it's a great thing for him and a great thing for the company. I think both are going to benefit from it.
Couldn't agree more with you, Kurt. When he was let go, there was a lot of rumors of, where could he show up? And all the other companies were mentioned, Impact, AEW, but Bray and the Fiend and what he brings to the business just fits with WWE.
It does. It doesn't fit anywhere else. There, it's perfect. And what he's been able to do in WWE is incredible.
I'm with you. So I'm excited as a fan to see where they take, this newer version
crazy?
of the character.
He's such an incredible worker, and he does not look like an athlete by any means, but he gets in that ring and he produces, man.
He does. And when he used to throw himself back and, pull his head back and do that like tarantula walk,
crab or whatever.
I'm like, hey, well, he's flexible.
Flexibility, man.
I tell you what. So there you go. All right.
I can imagine the stuff that him and his wife do in bed.
Oh, whoa. Well, we've just taken it up a notch here on Ask Kurt Anything. Bray Wyatt performing all those tricks, and Kurt's impressed. He wishes he could have some of those skills.
I do, man. I do.
Yeah. Well, maybe there's more surgeries in your future that could help you with that, Kurt. So
I wouldn't mind an extension.
Yeah. Well, wow. Okay. There we go. Kurt's looking for the implants. So, I don't even know where to go with that except to question number 3, and that's a wrestling historian. And he said, you attended Bellator 145. Were you and Ken Shamrock supposed to have an MMA fight? Thanks in advance.
Okay, let me tell you the whole story. All right, I broke my neck 5 times, okay? So after like the second time, I had no strength in my upper body. If you remember my thing with Daniel Puder, I couldn't do 3 push-ups at that particular time. And, Dan caught me in an arm bar, even though he pinned himself. But, he caught me in the arm bar, and I was in trouble. I mean, if he would have kept going, if he wouldn't have pinned himself, I would have ended up breaking my arm. And, my neck, my arms didn't get any better. What was going on is when I broke my neck, I was losing circulation to my arms. So my arms got weaker, and they started to atrophy and get smaller. And I couldn't do anything. I couldn't bench 135 pounds. I was weak. My upper body was so weak. So Ken was talking to me about he wanted to fight me in Bellator. And I said, well, Ken, you're going to have to take it easy on me.
Yeah.
He was like, what are you talking about? I said, listen, man, I'm not in any position to fight right now. And, my upper body is really weak, and, you're going to have pretty much an easy time with me. Don't get me wrong. I can still take you down and get you down and, work you a little bit, but I'm not going to be 100%. And Ken said, don't worry, I'll take it easy on you. I'm like, wait a minute, did we just fix a fight?
There you go. That's
and
true.
Ken said, well, I'm not going to take it that easy on you. If I have to finish you off, I'm going to finish you off. But it never came to fruition. And it's because there was no way I was able to do it.
Yeah, you just weren't in that shape. And Kurt, from what we learned earlier, apparently your arms aren't the only thing that have atrophied. So there you go. Keegan, you're up next. As someone who is beginning to train with Seth Rollins at Black and Brave next year, what do you think should be the key thing I work on besides moves? Keegan, awesome, man. He said, which happens to be what a lot of talent solely work on nowadays. So he's about to begin, like I said here, training with Seth Rollins at this Black and Brave Academy. What would you suggest, Kurt, that he should work on besides moves?
Okay, bumping properly. You have to get that done right away. That's your first thing you need to worry about so that you stay safe, so you don't get injured. You have to learn how to bump properly. Once you get that out of the way, the next thing is selling. Selling is what sells tickets. That's what pay-per-view buys. That's what occurs. That's how you get the business moving. And you learn how to sell the proper way. If you do that, those two things right there to begin with, you're going to be A-okay if you continue on. And then you work on your move set and everything else and your character. But the first two things is bumping and selling.
So it's really how do you react to taking moves, bumping, selling. Yeah, that's the key. It's not giving them. It's how you act taking them, and how you fall, how you sell, and the facials.
When I started my first 2 weeks, I didn't do one offensive move.
Yeah.
I let them pick me up and slam me, and I would bump and I would sell. I learned that first before I started having more doing offense, and that's why I learned so quickly.
It was cool. I was at a Dynamite show a few weeks ago, and I was sitting by Derek Sabato. Derek and I went together, who writes helps research
Great
for
writer.
our show. Yeah, he's fantastic. I love Derek, and it was he has a lot of experience in the wrestling industry. He's been a referee, but he was commenting on things as I was watching the match, and it was just different listening to someone who knows the business so well. And he was like, wow, this person's really given it up so much to this other wrestler, or wow, look at the facials. They're really doing a good job with their facials. And it's like, man, I'm watching this a little bit differently. Just listening to him comment on it. Right. And
why? Because he's a mega fan. He's a student of the game.
That's right.
Yeah. And he studies it left and right, up and down.
Yeah. So, those are some things though to think about if you're getting in the business that, the facials, those are things that are you making the right faces at the right time and playing to the audience? It's all that stuff.
That's one of the most important things. Yes.
All right, good stuff. James Chad Simpson, so he goes by Chad. He said, Kurt, I recently watched Unforgiven 2001 again. On the heels of 9/11 as an Olympic hero, did WWF management ever talk about changing your role to a more serious character? And did you feel additional pressure being the American hero?
No, I didn't feel additional pressure being the American hero. It was 9/11 and the country needed a shot in their arm. And I was their Olympic hero. I was the USA guy. And I was going to win the championship from Stone Cold Steve Austin. It was set up for that. That was the reason why I won the title in the first place. But what was the first question that you asked me?
He was just asking if they ever considered changing your role to a more serious character.
Well, when I was a babyface against Stone Cold Steve Austin, I was pretty serious. Beforehand, when I was a heel, I was, doing all the goofy, funny stuff. And afterward, I did a little bit more of that. But when I was wrestling Stone Cold, I was pretty serious. So I'm not sure if they didn't realize that or if they wanted me to become serious from here on in, from after I wrestled Stone Cold to the future. And I don't know if that's what they meant.
So no pressure for you being the American hero. I mean, you think about it too. You were kind of an American hero for all of us in 1996 on your way to the gold medal.
Yeah, I got to do it over again.
You know what I mean? Great. This is a different way.
Honestly, that was my favorite moment in WWE, that wrestling moment. I mean, my favorite moment was the milk truck incident. When I doused everybody with milk. But the wrestling moment was beating Stone Cold for the world title right after 9/11. That was awesome.
Man, that's big time, man. So cool. Ben Reynolds is up next. He said, who is the wrestler that, and if you forget context, interference, etc., Kurt's character would consider his worst loss by pinfall or submission? For example, like The Rock, he lost to the Hurricane. Is there a wrestler that you look back and, man, I cannot believe I lost to that guy?
Well, you know what? He was actually a really good wrestler. His character was a little bit odd, but I would say Eugene.
Oh, that's right.
It was great because he was so entertaining, very, very funny. He was playing a special needs kid, and he did it really well. And, losing to a special needs kid, it's not that there's no shame in losing to special needs kids, but it was kind of, a little bit odd that I had to do the job for him. And I ended up redeeming myself and beating him at the pay-per-view, but him beating me, I remember Nick when I started wrestling.
Yeah.
And, he was training also. And so he was a really good wrestler. So, I knew him as a person before he did Eugene. So I respected him enough that doing a job for him was no problem.
What did you think of him doing that whole character at the time?
It was great.
Yeah.
I mean, I absolutely loved it. Every time he went out there, I was up, looking at the screen, watching like a fan.
Yeah.
I enjoyed everything he did. He made it look so real.
Yeah, he did. All right, Justin O'Hella is up next. He said, Kurt, will Pittsburgh ever get a stadium, WrestleMania, or SummerSlam? Also, what's your favorite thing about Pittsburgh? So let's start there first. Will they ever get a stadium, WrestleMania, or SummerSlam?
Well, I hope so, because Pittsburgh deserves it. They're one of the best wrestling cities in the United States. They've been that for a long time. They always, come close to selling out every time WWE comes there. So I wouldn't be surprised if they end up having a WrestleMania and a SummerSlam there. It's going to have to be at Heinz Field. I forget what the new name is.
Acrisure. Yeah.
Acrisure Field. But I think it would be excellent there. And the problem, though, with Pittsburgh is in the spring, it's still a bit cold.
Yeah.
And, usually when they do WrestleMania in stadiums, it usually has a roof over it. Acrisure Stadium does not have a roof over it.
Yeah. SummerSlam, potentially. That would be fun. August. It would be nice and hot there. That's for sure.
Yes, it would. That would be a perfect time to do it.
But the other thing, too, you have to think about is the city's infrastructure. I know that's what they look at a lot now, even for Super Bowls. Do they have enough hotels and transportation and enough ability to get in and out of the city? And that's what the Super Bowl, they look at that. You got to have all that in place. And WrestleMania is now at that level. And I don't know infrastructure wise if Pittsburgh's there yet, but man, I think at least
they're ready for it either.
I think SummerSlam, I'd love to see that happen. That would be fun. Definitely. He says, what's your favorite thing about the Burgh? What do you love most about Pittsburgh?
It's the people. People, even a stranger, you're walking down the street, they say hi to you. It's, how's your day doing? It's like, great. I don't know you, but great. But not only that, I love the skyline of Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
You go through those Fort Pitt tunnels from the airport and you go through it and bang, the city hits you right in your face. And it's a huge skyline. I love the city of Pittsburgh. I love going up to Mount Washington and looking over the city. My dad built the tallest building in the city, the PPG building. So, it has a lot of memories for me. So I love the skyline.
Yeah, going up the Duquesne Incline and just being on top of Mount Washington. There's some nice places to eat up there, but you can see the whole deal. Heinz Field to the PNC Park where the Three Rivers form. Man, it's a beautiful, beautiful view. And they've really built up the North Shore. So if you're looking for some, to get away for a weekend with your significant other or whatever, and it's a hidden gem, dude. And
it is. You're absolutely right, Paul. It is a hidden gem.
And I know we're marks for the city, but it's I'm telling you, you won't be disappointed. And a lot of history there, museums that you can tour through. And hey, it's the home of Mr. Rogers. Okay,
yes, it is my favorite character of all time, Mr. Rogers.
Really?
I loved him. He had such a huge impact on my life.
Oh,
I wanted to meet him. I never did. And I lived in Pittsburgh.
They have that statue of him down on the river there.
That's how much of an impact he had on everybody's lives. Mr. Rogers is worldwide famous.
Yeah, absolutely. Watched him as a kid, him and the train and the sweater to the jacket and the shoe changing. Oh, man. Good stuff, Kurt. Martin Watchorn is up next. Martin, love you, buddy. A lot of these names I recognize because a lot of them are ad-free show folks, and they're always supporting us. He said, could Kurt talk about his title-winning match versus Bobby Lashley from Impact at Wembley in London? So, Kurt, before we go on to those other questions, can you talk a little bit about that winning title match against Lashley?
That title win was one of my top 5 moments, and I'll tell you why. I was in my late 40s, and I didn't know if I was still in my prime. And this match was a great test for me. Bobby Lashley was in his prime. I'm near the end of my career. I'm wrestling for the world title, and I beat him. And we had a great match. It gave me the confidence to continue to move on, because at this point in time, I was actually considering retirement. But after beating Bobby and having that great match with him, I knew I wasn't done wrestling. So that match had a huge impact on my career, and it's one of my top 5 moments.
Oh, that's awesome, Kurt. And he said, listen to this. I love Martin. What are the chances of Kurt's chicken snacks being available through a UK retailer? Yeah.
All right, I'm going to tell you this. Within 6 months, it will be in the UK. I promise you. We already have distributors set up. We're going to get it ready and going. And by 6 months, you're going to have them in the UK. You'll be able to enjoy chicken snacks in the UK.
You got it. 6 months. So Martin, keep an eye out. I mean, I see him in the Giant Eagle all the time. I mean, you're posting them on Instagram, you and Giovanna. So, but man, they're going to come to the UK. You heard it here from your Olympic hero. He says, thanks to the GOAT for everything. Yes, the GOAT. It's true. It's damn true. Cheers, Martin. So there you go. The greatest of all time.
Thank you very much.
Martin's a good dude. Trey Edison is up next. He says, Kurt, I read your tweet regarding the Bound for Glory 2007 bat incident with Sting. What did you two say to each other in the ring? Also, backstage, what was said? Thank you very much.
Well, Sting was supposed to stop the bat. He didn't have his hands together. They were apart. So the bat went right down between his hands and hit him right on the head. And his head exploded. Blood was shooting everywhere. He had to get 20 stitches in his head. And I was like, fudge.
I'm sure you were.
I thought I knocked him out. I mean, his head, it had a loud clunk, like it was really loud. And the fans, even in the crowd, were like, holy crap. And I didn't know what to do. And Sting actually grabbed the bat, didn't break character, and hit me in the gut with it or whatever he did. And he finished it off. But we went backstage and Sting wasn't even mad. He's like, hey, it was my fault. I should have had my hands together. It wasn't your fault. And but I'm going to have to get 20 stitches now. So he had to end up going to the EMTs and getting stitches. It was horrible, man. I felt so bad for him.
Sting is he like the Lord? I mean, he's like, sounds like Mr. Perfect.
Never gets angry. The guy is the nicest guy in the world.
Holy shit.
You can't get mad at him. And you can't hate the guy.
You can hit him in the head and split his head with a baseball bat. And he's like, Kurt, it's not your fault. It's mine.
It's mine.
Oh, my God. This guy sounds amazing.
Yeah, he's an angel.
If we could all only learn and be more like Sting. Be like Sting. It should be a shirt. We need more Stings in this world, Kurt, and less assholes.
Yes, we do. Absolutely.
Lindsay Lopez is up next. Oh, Lindsay, it was great to see you at Top Guy Weekend. She said, let's talk football. What do you think your Steelers, and you can just tell the tone, are going to need this season to be successful? Where do we begin, Kurt? Where do we begin? She wants to know that. And she says, now keep in mind, I'm a Baltimore girl, and you guys are going down twice this season thanks to my Ravens.
Hold on a second. By the way, the Ravens are struggling too.
They're 3-3. Yeah.
Yeah. So, be careful what you say, honey. But,
I love it.
But I would say this. The Steelers made the right move by making Kenny Pickett the starting quarterback. He needs reps. He needs to make mistakes. He needs to mess up, fuck up, whatever it is this whole season. Get his shit down straight. So next season, they're going to be a formidable team that will be able to compete for the Super Bowl. But having Kenny Pickett, they should have started him at the beginning of the year, let him make his mistakes, let him get experience, and then eventually he's going to be an incredible quarterback. He is our future, and that guy is very talented.
He's very talented. He's got the moxie. He's the kind of guy you want with the football at the end of the game. Just trust us. You'll see it.
You can count on. Yes.
Yeah. And you know what? Listen, TJ Watt is a big blow. We haven't had him all year. And, and listen, I'm all for it. Let's just adding more pieces in the off season. Looks like we might have a pretty high draft pick, but it's just continuing to build and get better. And there's still a lot of season left, Kurt. So we'll see what happens.
There is. I mean, the Steelers could turn it around. They already beat the Bucks, and they're off to a one game streak.
Yeah, right. Let's just pray we can continue on. Yeah, we'll see. So there you go. Scott Golden is up next. And by the way, Lindsay, we love you. Just sorry that you're a Ravens fan. I mean, it's we're sorry for you there. Scott Golden says,
sorry too.
Kurt, I was around Steve Bradley a few years before he passed away. Any stories of your time with him in developmental?
I owe everything I did in pro wrestling to Steve Bradley. We started together. We were in the first Dory Funk Dojo camp together. And what the WWE decided to do is tie him to me until I got on TV. So I would go to Dory Funk Dojo camps and Steve would come, and then we would go wrestle at independent shows. Steve would come with me. He'd give me advice, show me what the ropes, what to do. And then we ended up going down to Memphis together. And we actually lived together because WWE wanted him attached to me because he knew everything about the business. He was so talented, not just from a wrestling standpoint, but a character standpoint, a promo standpoint. The guy had it all. I'm surprised he didn't start on WWE television. I heard they forgot about him when he was in Puerto Rico, and then they were eventually going to call him up, and they brought him up to Cincinnati, and something occurred where he ended up getting let go, and it just never happened. But Steve should have been a WWE champion eventually. They actually came up with a gimmick for him because he was so young. He was like 22 years old. They wanted him to be a college athlete.
Okay.
And be so dumb he didn't know what he was doing, like wrestling Stone Cold Steve Austin at 22 years of age. He was going to get his ass kicked, but he didn't think he could. He making him try to be like a gullible type of talent.
Yeah.
So that was the idea they wanted with him, but they passed that up, and eventually he got let go. And I know that sadly he ended up passing away at a very young age. I'm so sorry to hear that because I love Steve and I respect him so much.
There you go. No, thank you for sharing some of that. And that's some stuff information that I wasn't aware of. Scott, great question. Thank you for asking. Jay the K is up next. And he said, what's one individual from your TNA Impact run that you're surprised never made it to the WWE?
Oh, that's hard to pick one. I will say Abyss. He did go to WWE as a producer, but he never wrestled for WWE. But I thought he should have been up there. Also, I'd like to say Christopher Daniels and Kazarian.
Oh, yeah.
Those two guys were not only incredible singles wrestlers, they were incredible tag wrestlers. They had it all. And those guys were incredible. I actually expected them to end up in WWE. And sadly, they didn't, but they're in AEW now. So that's just about as good.
I'll throw another one at you that I'm surprised at, and that's somebody that we had at our live show, Top Guy Weekend.
Jay Lethal.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jay's another one too.
Man, Mr. Charisma.
That whole X division in TNA was ridiculous.
Yeah, but Lethal has charisma and he has skills.
Yeah, and he can mimic Ric Flair.
And Macho Man.
And Macho Man, yeah. He could probably mimic anybody, honestly.
Yeah. I should have had him try to do a Kurt Angle imitation while we were there. That would have been fun.
He'd have to shave his head bald. Well, he actually is shaved bald, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's true. It's damn true. I mean, he could have done something fun. Yeah.
Yes, he could have.
Oh, he's good, man. All right. Joe Giachetti, and hopefully I got that pronunciation right. He said, did you really use a chicken suit when training for the 1996 Olympics like Edge and Christian said?
No, that was Brian Gewirtz, the writer of WWE. And he decided to claim that I wore a chicken suit to lose weight, to cut weight, because the suit was so heavy to make me sweat. And so Edge and Christian, gave me the chicken suit on TV. It was freaking hilarious. So I'm wearing this chicken suit. Christian wore the chicken suit because he had to lose weight because he was in a cruiserweight match that night. He had to lose 5 pounds. That's right. So it was ridiculous. I actually told him, hey, I used to wear a chicken suit when I'd have to lose weight for the Olympics. You should wear your chicken suit. So he did. And it was hilarious.
Yeah, Joe, I think just trying to have a little bit of fun with you there. Ben is up next, and he said, I really enjoyed your tag run with Chris Benoit in 2002, wrestling the Guerreros and Edge and Rey Mysterio. Man, what a show. We just talked about that last week, and a lot of people, and I saw on social commenting, best tag match of all time, best championship tag match of all time. Kurt, I don't know if you were seeing the same feedback, but
yes, I was surprised. I mean, I was not a tag wrestler, but it felt really good because, none of us were tag wrestlers.
Yeah.
Edge, Ray, me, and Benoit were all singles wrestlers, but we were put together to have this tag match, and it was incredible. It was my favorite tag match I've ever been in. I don't know if it was the greatest tag match of all time, but I'd say it's pretty close.
Well, a lot of other people are saying that best of all time. Man, you're just associated with so many best of all times, but I'm not going to keep talking about that. We need your headphones to stay on your head and not pop off. He said, was it an adjustment for you during doing more tag team matches, or did you adapt pretty easily? So we'll start there. Was it an adjustment for you?
I mean, a little bit. I wasn't crazy about tagging, but if I tagged with Chris Benoit, I was there all day, all night. Having Criss as a tag team partner, I felt like I was tagging with my twin brother, and he was so intense and so technical, just like me. We made a very formidable tag team, and they were right by putting the titles on us. We were the first SmackDown tag team champions after the brand split, and I absolutely loved working with Benoit. And yeah, I had to adapt a little bit because it was tag wrestling, but it's not that hard. I mean, once you're in there and you're wrestling and you do a few tag matches, you kind of get the hang of it.
He said, what was it like teaming up with Benoit instead of wrestling him?
You know what? The thing is, anytime I wrestled Benoit or anytime I tagged with Benoit, it was my favorite time in WWE. As long as he was associated with me, those are my favorite matches of all time. Benoit, tagging with him, or wrestling him. It didn't matter either one. But both of them, I knew that I would have the best matches of my career.
Did you have, Kurt, and this is just me, we're just talking out loud now. Did you have any kind of relationship outside of, hey, this is what we're going to do in wrestling, or, hey, we're together as a tag team? Did you have any kind of relationship with him, conversations with him that you can recall or remember outside of just, hey, this is, working together?
Yeah, we were all close. I mean, Eddie, Chavo, Ray, me, Criss. We were all very tight. I mean, we told each other, personal things that were going on in our families, a lot of stuff about working out and what we had to do, or advice to each other on wrestling matches. We were all really close, and we bonded pretty well. And I loved Criss. I loved him to death.
I just wondered how much of an open book he was. Was he a pretty quiet guy?
He was real quiet to himself. You couldn't get a lot out of Criss. He wasn't going to give it to you, but you had to respect him for that, because he was kind of like a shy, quiet kid. When he went out in the ring, he became a monster,
a Wolverine,
a Wolverine.
Yeah.
But backstage, he was really laid back, very quiet.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's how he always appeared to be. And so there you go. James Grunberg is up next. He said, is there one match in particular that you had that began to take a toll on your body and told you to slow down? Is it the Shane McMahon street fight? So do you remember kind of a point in time where you were like, shit, I got to slow down a little bit here?
That was it. The Shane McMahon street fight. The street fight was incredible. We beat each other up so badly. We both ended up in the hospital. And the crazy thing is, we're both in wheelchairs in the hospital. We see each other and we're high-fiving each other like, hey, we kicked ass. And we're both like almost crippled. It was ridiculous, man. But that was early in my career. And when you have a match like that, it makes you feel good. The pain goes away in your body. I had a cracked tailbone, but that night I was flying so high from the match that I didn't feel the crack in my tailbone. But, I would say that match was the one that had me calm down. And that's what made me not crazy about gimmick matches. Because when I did that street fight, the abuse my body took, I decided from here on in, I didn't want to be a part of any gimmick matches. But I was, some cage matches, Hell in a Cell matches. I don't think I was ever involved in a ladder match till I did TLC with the Shield. But I always tried to stay away from gimmick matches because of that.
Yeah, once you start throwing people through glass walls and that's like, okay, we're gonna have to rethink some things here.
Oh, Shane was crazy, man. When it failed, when I hit him, when he hit the glass and landed on his head and made a big clunk, I went to get him and he said, "Do it again, throw my ass through it again." I was like, "You're crazy, Shane."
Do you remember the last time you talked to Shane, Kurt? Has it been a while?
You know what? We talked to each other about 2 months ago on the phone.
Okay.
I did talk to him. He reached out to me and asked me how I was doing. Shane, out of the blue, he always keeps in touch with his closest friends, Undertaker, me, Stone Cold, even Dwayne Johnson when he can. But Shane always reaches out. He always wants to keep in touch with everybody that he was close to.
That's cool, man. So he just randomly a couple months ago reached out and just checked in, and I hope he's doing well. He's one guy when he's not involved in the WWE or what have you, you just don't hear anything on what he's up to. But
he has a pretty successful business over in China from what I hear.
Okay.
It's like I heard it's like really making a lot of money. I think what it is it's like a Netflix in China.
Okay.
Like something like that, live stream in China. I don't know. What happened was I was in Japan and I wrestled at a show and I was in my hotel room and these two guys from China called me. They speak English kind of. They're like, Kurt Angle, we want you to come downstairs. We want to talk business. I'm like, well, I'm not a business guy.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk to Shane McMahon? So I called Shane. I said, hey, meet these guys downstairs. They want to talk business. And it had to do with something like that in China. And I don't know if that's how it got started.
Okay.
But, Shane ended up talking to those guys and he ended up doing business with them.
Oh, very cool. All right. Well, man, all good things. So many people, when they think about Shane, it's like you, Shane, and that match will forever live in infamy, and just be, a lot of people's favorites of all time. One of our favorites.
It's amazing how good Shane was when he wrestled very little.
Yes.
He was such a great athlete,
And the fact that he's a daredevil and just doesn't care and gives it all for the fans.
How about those falls off the cages, off the, off the ledge? 30 feet above the Titantron. It was ridiculous when he landed on Big Shaw. I mean, it seemed like he was falling for 10 seconds.
and dude, I'm scared of heights. There ain't no way in hell. I mean,
me neither. I'm not doing that either.
You wouldn't.
My body would break in two.
Hey, well, the fact that you were doing, moonsaults off of cages, that's still crazy, bro.
It is crazy, but not as crazy as Shane.
Oh, Bow, I don't know how you would do some of that stuff that you did. So. My goodness. All right, let's move on. We're gonna move over to someone who, this guy is a good guy. It's the pastor. It's Pastor Tim, and he says you've wrestled main event spots at both WrestleMania and New Japan Wrestle Kingdom. Can you share your thoughts on the differences between wrestling at Mania versus Wrestle Kingdom at the Tokyo Dome? And as an American wrestler, how does Wrestle Kingdom compare to WrestleMania from your perspective?
Well, WrestleMania, the fans in the United States are very vocal. They're very loud. They get rowdy, crazy. They cheer chants. You suck. We know
that one.
Yeah. And that was awesome.
You still got it.
Yeah. You still got it. They would chant and they were always very vocal. But the Japanese fans, they were quiet. They were very well behaved, and they would clap after a good spot. And they would observe the match. They were studying the match. They were really into it. They just didn't show it with emotion. And what they would do is every spot that you did, it was successful, you get a clap, everybody would clap. But they weren't loud by any means. And they were just more well-behaved, but they were really into the matches. It was kind of cool. It was different.
Interesting. But it is a completely dynamic, I'm sure, for you as a performer to get used to when you're used to that energy from the United States crowd.
It is. I mean, it was harder to work in front of that crowd, but you actually knew that they were into it, though, because of the way they studied the matches. Yeah.
There you go. Ryan Connolly is up next. He says, Mr. Angle, good sir. Man, he must not know you very well. He said, I'm kidding. In your years of travel, have you checked out any of our world's or nation's natural wonders? Which one have you enjoyed the most, or do you enjoy such things at all?
All right. I'm guilty of not going to see the world wonders when I travel around, because I travel around the world quite a bit. I went to 82 different countries. And there were a lot of wonders that I could have seen. I didn't see them. The only one I did see is Niagara Falls. And that was overwhelming. I absolutely loved that.
And that was like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, it was. You're right. Yeah. That's my first time. Isn't that crazy? I'm near the end of my life.
All right.
I didn't go see anything.
Hey, guys, I pulled my head out of my ass, and I actually went and saw a world wonder.
It's crazy because I traveled all over the world, and I could have seen so many things. And I didn't do it. And you know what? It's on my bucket list, which is ridiculous.
No, but
I want to see the Grand Canyon.
Yes.
I want to see the what do you call it in Egypt?
Like the pyramids and all that.
Yeah, the pyramid. I mean, there are a lot of things I want to do, and I haven't done it yet. I want to go to Jerusalem.
Okay, Israel. Go to Israel. Yeah, dude, check out all that. Yep, I'm with you. Well, it sounds like you got quite the bucket list. We're gonna He said,
I don't know if I'm going to knock it out.
Yeah, we got to get you busy. He said, in the past several years, I've become a state and national park enthusiast. And I wanted to ask, thanks for your time. It's interesting because I had just interviewed someone for my shoot job. And that was one of the things they said that is one of their favorite family vacations is the national parks, because it's one of those things where they can do it together as a family and get to see so much, of nature and cool sights.
That's what my wife wants to do. She wants to get an RV and take my family in
Oh
the
my
RV,
God,
travel
Kurt.
around the country and see the wonders. She has told me that at least 25 times now in the last year.
And how many
so
times
it's going to happen eventually.
Oh,
We're going to be
Kurt.
the Griswolds.
You need a nanny to go with you too. I mean, come on, something.
We might have to with our kids. Yeah.
Oh.
It's kids.
It goes from natural wonders to natural disasters in no time. I love it. Make sure you document the whole trip. I want to see it.
Oh, we will. My wife will. You know that.
Just for entertainment purposes. Brian Haremza is up next. He says, in your A&E documentary, you mentioned going into the Olympics, you joined the Dave Schultz Wrestling Club. What is your relationship like with Dave's family now? And do you still work with Dave's Wrestling Club now?
Okay, I'm still very close to Nancy Schultz, Dave's wife, and her kids. One is named Xander Schultz, who I keep in touch with. I also keep in touch with his brother Mark, who I idolized as a kid. He was just as good as Dave Schultz, and so I do keep in touch with him. I definitely do. The other question was,
do you still work with the wrestling club now?
The wrestling club, it's no longer.
Okay.
They started a wrestling club in 1996. I became the first member of the Dave Schultz Wrestling Club because I vocally quit Foxcatcher. I didn't want the blood money from John DuPont. Nancy Schultz heard about that, so she called me and said, "Hey, Kurt, I'm starting a wrestling club. I have a bunch of sponsors that are stepping forward. I want to make you the first member of the Dave Schultz Wrestling Club." I said, "Nancy, you don't have to do that." I said, "You know what? I'll join that club." And she said, "Well, I want to pay you. How much were you getting from Foxcatcher?" I said, "You don't have to pay me, Nancy. I just love to be a part of Dave Schultz's legacy." And she said, "No, I'm going to pay you anyway, whatever Foxcatcher was paying you." And what's ridiculous is she was able to keep that club going for like 15, 20 years. And the problem was she ran out of the funds and sponsorships backed out. And then she was using her own money. She filed a lawsuit against John DuPont, made $33 million. And she started using that money for the Dave Schultz Wrestling Club just to keep Dave Schultz's memory alive. And that was the wrong thing. I mean, that's her money.
That's right.
That's what her family's that's what they got and replaced their dad, which is not a replacement by any means.
Sure.
But that was her money. And she was using it for the Dave Schultz Wrestling Club to keep the club alive and fund the wrestlers so they could continue to travel and wrestle all over the world. She's an incredible individual. She's just like her husband.
Sounds like it. Well, no, there you go. Thank you for sharing that. Adam Arpin is up next. And he says, if you had gone back to WWE at a time where you could have still competed for a couple years and you ran an invasion angle using talent from TNA, who would have been the 2 or 3 guys you would have wanted to join you? So, Kurt, you're going into WWE. It's invasion style from TNA. Who were those 2 or 3 other guys you're bringing with you?
Oh, man. Well, Sting, for one. Definitely. Okay. AJ, Samoa Joe, and Abyss. Let me bring 4 in. I'd say those 4. I think that would have been a formidable team, especially having a big guy Abyss on the team and having the leader Sting and AJ Styles with his athletic ability and Joe with his ground pounding and his skills. Those guys would have been incredible. We could have had a great invasion angle.
Yeah, we're taking over. Here comes Kurt Angle and the crew. I love it. That's a fun question, Adam. Love it, and thank you for asking. Man, yeah, that's a good one. Daniel's up next. He said, Kurt, my name is Daniel, and I'm pursuing a career in broadcast journalism. My question that I have for you, Kurt, is what was your experience like working as a sportscaster for Fox News Pittsburgh?
You haven't heard, man? I've told this story at least 15 times.
Daniel wants to hear it again, Kurt. It's so good. He just has to hear it, and I'm here for it. Let's go.
Okay. I was, after the Olympics, I was offered a job by Fox in Pittsburgh, and it was to be a sports broadcaster. And it was to be the weekend sports anchor and a reporter during the week. And when I started, the station was a startup station. So they didn't have any rehearsals. I had no experience. So I go in the first night to go on the air, and I have my scripts in order, and I go into the studio to do my read, and I run into the producer. My scripts fly up in the air, all out of order. My producer says, shit, just grab the scripts. Don't worry about those. Just read the teleprompter. You'll be able to see the teleprompter and they'll have the words up. Just read that. So I sit down, I'm getting ready, and this announcer says, time for the angle on sports. That's what they said for the beginning of my show. And so the teleprompter, the words are up there, then it goes black. And I'm sitting there for like 15 seconds. I'm waiting for it to come back up. It's not coming up. And the producer, I have an earpiece in my ear, and the producer says, Kurt, say something. Anything. Say whatever. Say anything. And I said, the Duquesne basketball team had a game today. Let's go to the highlights. And I remembered that was the first segment. So we talked about the highlights. I said, I didn't know the names of the individuals. So I was like, number 67 with a layup. Okay. The next sporting event, I think, is baseball. And it ended up being football. It was the wrong one. And this happened throughout the whole show.
Oh, dear God.
Every segment I was picking the wrong thing. And then I would say, oh, no, it's football. And I'd say, let's go to the highlights. So this happened for 8 minutes. It was a complete disaster. And when I got done, the scripts were all over the table. I looked like I just had sex. The two, the weather girl and the news anchor were both sweating because they
look like they had sex too. Yeah, this is a great scene.
So like we just had great sex.
Right.
And it was like, okay, that was the angle on sports. It was the worst experience of my life. And you know what? It didn't get better. I mean, for that whole year, it was a disaster. I was the worst sportscaster in the history of sportscasting.
Sounds like a complete.
But, I didn't have the background for it, and I definitely didn't have the experience, and I had no rehearsal.
So no notes, just bullshitting up there.
I jumped in with both feet.
Yeah, you were sweating, looked like you just had nasty sex, and so did everybody else, and you were calling the wrong sports. Is this exist anywhere on video? Because this sounds like
I think it's on YouTube.
Okay, we're gonna find it, and then me and you are gonna do a bonus show for ad-free shows where we watch it and then make fun of it. You're gonna
know exactly how I.
No, we're gonna make fun of it. Like it's just we're gonna sit there and shit all over it, and then we're gonna hit play again, and then do it again, and then we're gonna have so much fun.
Anybody that wants to see it, look up Fox 53 Kurt Angle Sportscasting first night on the air.
Okay. Well, me and you are going to do this watch along experience. I mean, we have to, and just rip it to shreds.
I'm not looking forward to it.
Oh, yes, you will. Oh, it's true. It's going to be so awesome. It's damn true. Patrick J is up next. I just hope that, never mind. I'm not even going to say it. Which was actually tougher on your body? The constant training and tournaments in amateur wrestling or pro wrestling each night?
I'll be honest with you, and this is hard for me to say. Amateur wrestling is the most injury-prone sport in the world. And I got injured quite a bit in amateur wrestling with my training and my competing, but pro wrestling is the worst.
Wow.
Okay. I've never been more injured in my life than pro wrestling. Even though it's predetermined and everybody thinks it's fake, the move sets are real and everything that we do is real. We wrestle on plywood. We get slammed on plywood. The ropes that we come off of, they're very stiff. The plywood, when you run in the ring, the plywood bounces up and down. So your knees take a quite of abuse.
Sure.
And I've had so many injuries in pro wrestling. Nothing compares to pro wrestling. It's the most dangerous sport, I'd say, type of sport there is in the world. There are more injuries in that than any other sport, definitely.
Buddy, we just saw, John Moxley clothesline Hangman Page Wednesday night. It was a big time clothesline. Hangman kind of flipped around, but landed on his head, concussion. They had to shut the whole match down.
Oh.
They had to shut the match down.
To do like a fancy turn and twist.
Yeah, it was like twist and turn of the canvas. Ref had to close the match, and AEW had 7 minutes left in the broadcast, so they had to bring out like MJF and fumble around and talk about what the next week's show is going to look like. I mean, they did a fine job of it, but you knew there was no plan for that.
Right? Yeah.
There was no plan for that.
Damage control.
Yeah, but he got stretchered out, man.
Jeez,
and
that's a shame, man.
That is another example of how how pro wrestling, anything can happen at any time, man.
You're absolutely right, Paul.
Yeah, big time concussion. And to your point, if you've not been in a ring, if you've not felt the canvas and taken the power slams and the bumps and
listen, if you've never wrestled before, go in the ring and take 3 bumps. I swear you'll say, I'm not doing it anymore. That's right. What I did when I started. I got up after the 3rd bump and I looked at my manager and said, I can't do this.
Yeah.
You'll finish out the day. And I did.
I'm sure it's a different level of respect. We were at StarCast, and me and Marcus, one of the social media guys, he's like, give me a body slam, Paul. I've never felt a body slam in a ring. So I picked him up and slammed him out and gave him a bump. He's like, okay, yeah, that felt a little different than I thought it was. We're not playing on mattresses here. This is
no. It's hard plywood, man.
Yeah, so there you go. Magnificent Matt is up next with the next question. He says, a few years ago, I saw a picture of you with original Kiss drummer Peter Criss. What was it like meeting him, and are you still a Kiss fan?
I love Kiss. I grew up with Kiss. Peter Criss was my favorite drum player.
Yeah.
I actually took drums because of Peter Criss, and I took the lessons for 20 years, and I became really good because I wanted to be Peter Criss. And I finally got to meet him at a Comic-Con a couple of years ago, and I was elated. I was so excited. I'm like, Peter Criss, could you take a picture with me? He's like, Kurt Angle, relax. Because I know who you are.
That's awesome.
I want to take a picture with you as well. So let's do it together. And it was really cool because I was like, Peter Criss knows who I am. Holy crap. I was so excited, man. It was like the coolest thing in the world knowing that this guy knew me.
It's funny because I was going to ask you at some point in the show, what's one thing about Kurt Angle that nobody would really know? But I think you just answered it. And that's that you played drums for how long?
20 years.
Get out of here.
I got really good. Really good.
Did you ever play in a band or?
Nope. Never play in a band. I would play in a studio at my house, play music, and I would drum to it. And I always wanted to do a band. I actually came up with the idea in WWE with Chris Jericho. I wanted to start a band in WWE and make some songs and have WWE produce it. And, see if a few other wrestlers were.
Where's Coco Beware? Is he around? He could get on the soundtrack too. They could do a whole new album again.
You're right, man.
Me and Gene Okerlund. Yeah. Tutti Frutti. Oh man, they had an album in the 80s that was a classic. But yeah,
I heard about that. Yeah,
let's do it again with Kurt Angle and Chris Jericho. There could have been a whole deal with you playing the drums. I'm all for it, man. I did not know that. That's wild stuff. That's crazy stuff. All right, Joey, the Tori Amos guy says, Kurt, what is your favorite TNA match not involving yourself?
Well,
that's a hard one.
Yeah, because that's impossible.
You dumbass.
I would say anything with AJ and Samoa Joe. And don't get me wrong. Listen, these guys in the X division were doing incredible things. I also have to throw in Jay Lethal, Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin. All those guys were having incredible matches in the X division. But when AJ and Joe wrestled each other, it was always 5-star. I absolutely love their matches.
There you go. That's a home run pick right there. No doubt about it. Lauren Eason, he says, what was it like working on the MTV show Made?
This kid decided to try out for wrestling at his high school, and he wasn't very good. So I was trying to teach him pointers. And you know what? I have to respect him. He went out for the team, and he followed through. So it was a fun show to be on. It was just to get a little bit of exposure. And meeting this kid was really cool. He was actually not very good at wrestling. It was his first year, and he wanted to learn from the best, and he learned from the Olympic hero. And you know what? It didn't help him any. Yeah,
not even you could make him.
Not
better.
Even me, man.
You tried. What was it like just in general working with MTV as a?
Oh, they got their shit together, man. They had everything set up, and they would tell you what. Honestly, it's not even a reality show. It's basically scripted. They tell you what to say.
Yeah.
I mean, they pretty much run it and say, hey, this is a kid. He's going to try for wrestling. You're going to answer him with this answer. And, so it was like, holy shit, and then you find out, when you do these other reality shows, you find out that none of them are reality
real.
Shows.
There's no real in the reality of it.
Yeah. I remember, I love doing Duck Dynasty, and I love those guys. They were awesome. But they were like, stop. Okay. Kurt, say this. And Willie, you say this. Okay, shoot, action. And we do it, and they say, stop. Okay, cut. Okay, now Kurt, you say this. Willie, you say that. It was like, wow, man, this is all scripted. Everything, they come up with an idea, and then they write out a script of what everybody's going to say, and then you do it.
You can't get away from writers in your career, can you? Only in TNA.
No, man. It's just like pro wrestling.
Yeah.
You think it's off the cuff, but it's actually scripted.
Oh, that's disappointing. There you go. So for all you reality junkies, it's all bullshit. It's all scripted.
It's not bullshit. They come up with some great stuff.
Yeah, the writers do. There you go. 2 count Kyle. And this is going to be interesting. Hey, Kurt, hate to be that guy with the dirt, but what are your thoughts on CM Punk's behaviors at the all-out media scrum? Not talking about the altercations and suspensions after, but the behavior beside Tony Khan at a media conference. And how would Vince react to this if there were one of the guys doing this in the WWE?
Oh, Vince would have lost his shit. I don't know CM Punk enough to know the kind of person he is. I'm going to be willing to just say, he is a good guy. I understand why he was upset, but what he did at that press conference was inexcusable. I mean, saying the things he said, and it's tough because I understand why he was upset. I think, was it Hangman that said something?
Yeah.
And you know what? I do understand why he was upset, but the way he acted during the press conference, I don't think was very professional.
Not the time or the place. And, it's Meltzer's coming out now saying it looks like they're looking into buying out his contract. So we'll see how that goes.
I heard he was going to sue AEW.
Yeah, it's probably, who knows?
He already sued WWE, so nice.
Yeah, there you go. Well, we'll move on from there because all of it is speculation until something happens. But Drew Landry says, where does the milk truck soaking rank in all your all-time moments? Kurt, I think you just said that was one of your favorite, right, of all time.
Number one. That's my number one moment in WWE or anywhere, any wrestling promotion I've been a part of. The milk truck incident was the coolest thing in the world. I was so grateful that Brian Gewirtz came up with that idea. He copied Stone Cold beer truck incident, and it was excellent. I really loved it. And dousing down Stone Cold Steve Austin and Stephanie with milk was the coolest thing in the world. I mean, I had the whole alliance in that ring, and I'm spraying them down with milk. It's actually food colored white water. That's what it was. They put food coloring in the water. But the milk jugs and cartons were real. But that's another story about the airplane ride that night.
Yeah, I remember you've told it before how bad you stunk. Because of the sour milk. So that's
they were in my shoes.
So that's your number one all-time favorite entertainment moment in wrestling. Is that deal there. Brad Stanton, you talked about this earlier too. He says, I know you prefer no gimmick matches, but if you had to pick one, which is your favorite?
I did one with AJ, Last Man Standing. We didn't use any gimmicks, or not a lot of gimmicks. That was cool because, it's pretty simple. You knock the guy down. If he stays down for 10 seconds, the match is over.
Sure.
It's very simple to explain to the audience. It's a very simple match to do. And it keeps the wrestling. It keeps the wrestling in wrestling. So it's not a bunch of weapons, kendo sticks and ladders and chairs and tables. It was a pretty clean match, and I was really happy with it.
All right, we'll keep going here. Matt M says, Angle, do you have memories of working Jeff Hardy in 2010? It was a 30-minute time limit draw at No Surrender pay-per-view, followed by a double pin draw at Impact tapings the next night. Fantastic, underrated matches. Do you remember working with Jeff at that point?
Oh, yeah. I loved working with Jeff. We had a couple of draws, and it continued on. I think he ended up beating me eventually, but Jeff was great. He was a high flyer. I was a ground wrestler, and we had great chemistry together. I think Jeff is one of the best high flyers in the business. I mean, the stuff he can do at his size is incredible. And, the thing is that what worries me about Jeff is his health from here on in the future, because when I was in TNA, and this was like 8-9 years ago, his back was shot.
Yeah.
And he kept doing all those stunts and everything he does, the twist thing he does off the top of the rope, and lands on the guy on his back. He's done a lot of abuse to his back. And I'm just really worried about what his his quality of life is going to be. That's what makes me a little nervous.
All right. We are going to do 4 more questions and then wrap up this one. Guys, we'll save the rest of your questions, like I said, for we're going to do another one this year. There's no doubt about it. I'm having way too much fun. Justin Bracken, when you were going nonstop, either with WWE or TNA, what did the after show dinner usually consist of? Oh, this is a food one. At that point, I'm guessing it wasn't water and chicken snacks.
No, it wasn't. You know what? It was like a tradition for me. And I used to hang out with Christian quite a bit and Edge. And after our matches, we would go to IHOP and get pancakes.
Oh,
egg whites and pancakes. We always had to get pancakes. They were awesome, especially at IHOP. I absolutely loved them. That was my after-match meal every night. And, back then I didn't have to diet. I still looked pretty good. I didn't have to worry about carbs and fat. It was great to be a wrestler back in your, early 30s, and your what do you call it is
metabolism's just going crazy.
Yeah, it's going. So now I can't do that shit anymore. I wish I could.
So what are you loading them up with butter and syrup, or was that your go-to for your pancakes?
I didn't use butter because I want the added fat, even though it really didn't matter. I mean, I was eating pancakes with syrup anyway. It was already
no butter.
A disaster. But yeah, I'd keep the butter away just to keep my calories a little lower.
Have you ever heard of peanut butter on pancakes? Man.
I love it. I do it here at home on my cheat day. On Saturdays, I have pancakes with peanut butter on. I learned that from The Rock.
Okay.
Watching his videos, he has a cheat Sunday, I guess, cheat day Sunday. And then he has like fuck it Wednesdays where he cheats.
There you go.
Yeah, one meal. He only does one meal both days.
When I was a kid, we used to get those, and this tells me a lot about my childhood obesity problems. Aunt Jemima waffles that you just pop in the toaster and then pull them some bitches right out nice and warm and throw peanut butter and syrup. Oh my God. It's like dessert for breakfast.
Oh yeah. Aunt Jemima waffles are the best.
Oh man. All right. Let's get these last three questions in. Brendan Gallfield says, Kurt, what's the biggest piece of advice you hear that you don't necessarily agree with?
You know what? I would say finish the match at all cost, even if you're hurt. I don't believe in that. Because if you wrestle and you get injured badly and you finish the match, and let's say you have surgery afterward, and the fans won't understand why you're having surgery because they saw you wrestle the match and you finished it. Then they find out that you actually did get hurt and you still finish the match. So therefore they think wrestling's fake. And, we all know it's a predetermined winner, but the moveset is very real. And when injuries occur in athletics all the time.
Yeah.
And so if a wrestler gets injured and the matches stop, it wouldn't be unusual. I think that, it brings realism to wrestling, to pro wrestling. So I think that, finish the match at all costs. That's bullshit. I think, because it happens all the time in athletics. Somebody gets injured, the game stops.
That's exactly good.
Field.
Yeah.
So I think that's something, and you know what? It builds more drama because the fans go, holy shit, he got injured. This is real. And so the fans actually get more into it. So, they get more concerned about the person and the injury they have. So I think finish the match at all costs is a bunch of bullshit. I think that if you get injured and it's pretty bad where you can't continue and you still go, you're crazy. I mean, I really think the business needs to change about that.
And that goes back. Yeah, that goes back to what happened Wednesday. I was just telling you, they stopped it. And you know what? They had to figure it out on the fly, but he had a concussion and they did the right thing. So there you go.
Well, I had a concussion once and I finished the match.
Yeah, that was a different period of time. Chris Nowitzki.
Oh, it can't happen now.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Chris Nowitzki.
I actually went backstage for 15 minutes.
No, I remember.
Still brought me back out, which is crazy. I mean, you talk about a lawsuit waiting to happen. But, I would have never sued the WWE. I'm not like that. And, I didn't blame them for the injury I had.
Yeah, Chris Nowitzki's done a lot of good work in that space, and others have as well with concussions. And, man, we've just learned so much.
They open people's eyes.
Yeah, it's good. Dirt Sheet says, what would it take for one last wrestling tour for Kurt Angle or one last match? Look at him. If you're not watching on video, he's showing the money fingers. There you go.
It's the only way I'll even consider and come back. It's going to have to be a substantial amount of money too. I do remember I did Tony Khan, wanted me to come in and wrestle for him. This was like 4 years.
This is when they first started. Yeah.
Yeah. And I said for 10 matches, I won $3 million.
Oh, wow.
Coming back, Paul.
They're like,
I can hear his wife yelling in the background. He ain't coming back. Well, what about for $3 million,
G? $300,000 a match.
What about $3 million, Giovanna? $3 million now? She can't hear me, Kurt.
No, he's saying, what about $3 million, Giovanna? Would you let me wrestle for one match? $3 million for one match?
You could throw me in there.
Oh, she'll jump in too.
She'll tap out for me.
Oh, wow. There you go. I'm all in on that. Tell her we're doing final question and we'll wrap the show up. What are your thoughts on Josh Alexander and the comparisons to yourself?
Josh reminds me of myself, and I love that he wears the headgear and the wrestling singlet and the whole ball of wax.
Yeah.
That guy is really technical. I love his work. He does remind me of myself, and I'm a big fan of his. And you know what? We're actually going to do an episode with him coming up soon.
That's where I was headed, buddy. We're going to be talking with him in 2 weeks. He's going to be a guest here.
I just did an ad-free shows edition where we talked about his match at Starcast.
Yep.
You know what? He was awesome, but you know what? The other one, Fatu,
yeah.
What the shit he does?
Incredible. I know.
Holy shit. Like, he's a big dude. He's real
awesome.
big. You know, he's Samoan, and those guys just move incredibly well for their size. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and by the way, we're here for the rest of those that have questions. We're going to get to those on the next Ask Kurt. I promise you that. But he's right. They just recorded a show. Kurt did. It's a bonus show on ad-free shows coming out later this month where he breaks down Fatu versus Josh Alexander from Ric Flair's last match. You don't want to miss it because, Kurt, I heard you do a phenomenal job really getting technical and breaking that down. And so check it out. But yeah, check it out. Next week, though, we're going to be talking about when Kurt returns to the ring for the WWE for the first time in 11 years to become an honorary member of the Shield when Roman Reigns comes down with the mumps. Yes, that's right. He had the mumps. What did Kurt think of coming back for the show? Was he ready for it? And then we're going to talk about that match itself. Kurt, Seth Rollins, and Dean Ambrose. That's right. We know him as Jon Moxley now. Versus Kane, Braun Strowman, The Miz, Cesaro, and Sheamus. And a 5-on-3 handicap tables, ladders, and chairs match. Oh, my. Kurt, I can't wait for that one, dude.
Oh, wait till you see that. Are they going to show some of that?
Oh, we'll get some clips, buddy. I hope so.
Show the beginning when I was like a fanboy up in the crowd. Okay. I was behind Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose, and I had this big smile on my face. It looked so cheesy. I was just so excited to be part of the Shield. I was like, holy shit.
That's great. A big deal. You were wearing the black suit and everything. The gear.
Yeah. They gave me all the gear. It was awesome.
Well, listen, speaking of adfreeshows.com, you can go over there now. We recently Conrad sat down with Dave Milliken to review the WCW World title. So for all you belt nerds, I know I'm one of them. You can see if you watch the video, I got a few behind me. They do an episode of Title Chase where they really get into the nuts and bolts of that belt and the design, and it is a can't miss. Also, Eric Bischoff recently speaks with Raven after a recent 83 Weeks episode where they covered their past together. And then tonight on October 24th, as this drops, Tony Schiavone is live doing a Q&A. We also have a new series coming out called The Book, and the first guest on that is David Manning with Conrad. They're going to cover World Class in January of 1982. And then, here we go, Jake Roberts watches Halloween Havoc 1992 on October 25th. That's a pretty cool experience. He's going to sit and watch his match from Halloween Havoc with our ad-free shows members and take questions for our top guys. All right now, adfreeshows.com. And you can get all these shows early and ad-free for $9. Kurt, they can check us out on Twitter they can find you at Real Kurt Angle on Twitter, Instagram at The Angle Pod, at The Real Kurt Angle. I'm telling you, I love following Kurt there. You can really keep up with him, what's going on. You can follow me if you'd like at Paulie Be Well, Pauly Be Well, and then the show at The Angle Pod. And find us on YouTube. It's youtube.com/The Angle Pod. And this is where you get to see our beautiful faces. Well, not mine, but Kurt's. And, but Kurt, before we get out of here. Oh, well, thanks, Kurt. I appreciate that. Before we get out of here, we got to tell them about those glorious, those wonderful, those delicious chicken snacks from physicallyfit.com.
I'm going to show them every week because they're so good. Chicken snacks and Snack Smart Crispy Protein Bites. One's chicken protein, one's organic plant protein. There are 11 different flavors. Cinnamon swirl, pizza flavor, sriracha, kung po. There are a lot of great flavors. You're going to absolutely love them. Go to physicallyfit.com to order yours. And if you use AnglePod as the code, you'll get 20% off your first order. And if you become a lifetime member, it's on the website. You can sign up. You get 20% off for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. These are incredible. You're going to absolutely love them.
Shout out to James Sorensen, who just brought a shit ton of every flavor of those chicken snacks and DM me to tell me about it. And he said they're all delicious, dude. He can't make up his mind which one he likes the best. Said check them out there.
You can't stop eating them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, can you eat too many chicken snacks? Well, is that a?
I don't know. I don't know if there's
that's a thing,
that's liability or not.
Is there a limit? I mean, will you get fat from eating them? You eat so many? I doubt it. I don't know.
I don't think so. I think you just build muscle.
Oh, you just get stronger. You just become more Herculean. All right. Finally, KurtAngleBrand.com. Kurt, tell them what they can find over there beside a big picture of your face on the homepage.
We have cowboy hats, milk cartons, T-shirts. We have birthday cards, autographed photos, cameo voice messages. Go to KurtAngleBrand.com. Order whatever you want, and I'll send it right to you.
It doesn't get any better than that. Again, I love those cameo videos. Nothing like just hearing from your Olympic
see me
hero.
do them.
I have. It's a wonderful thing, and he appreciates your support. We appreciate your support, yes, and again, continue to follow us and put it. If you're enjoying the show, put it out there on social media. If you're not, don't say a word. We only want to hear the positive feedback. Half kidding, but we love you guys. We appreciate you listening. We'll see you again right here next week. On behalf of Kurt Angle, this is Paul Bromwell. We'll see you right here next week on the Kurt Angle Show.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.